Today we're going to take a look at the X2 6-stop ND filter from Breakthrough Photography. So before we get into this specific ND filter, let's just talk real quickly about ND filters in general. An ND filter, a neutral density filter, will help you take long exposure images in situations you probably wouldn't be able to do so otherwise. How does it do that? Well, an ND filter is dark and it reduces the amount of light that can get into your camera. So what that does is allows you to slow your shutter speed down a long exposure to allow you to get certain effects that are very pleasing to the eye in landscape photography. Think waterfalls, for example. Probably some of your favorite waterfall images, the water's nice and silky smooth. Well, the way you do that is a long exposure. However, a lot of times there's too much light out and you can't get your shutter speed slow enough to really let that water turn into that nice milky white stream. So what you do is you put an ND filter on. Now there's less light getting into your camera. Now you can do a slower shutter speed and get that long exposure effect on the water and the waterfall. This can also be handy for seascapes where the water is coming in and around rocks. It can be handy for that. It can be handy just to get some awesome light at sunset or sunrise. If you just want to be able to slow and get that dreamy look of a long exposure, maybe the clouds will start to smooth out and give you that dreamy look if you're able to leave that shutter open a little longer as they sort of move across the sky. So that's what an ND filter does. It lets less light in the camera, allows you to do long exposures in situations you might not otherwise be able to. Now the ND filter we're going to talk about today is made by Breakthrough Photography from San Francisco, California. So Breakthrough Photography offers two lines of ND filters. They have an X2 line and an X4 line. Regardless of line, they both have nano coatings on them. They're both weather sealed and they both come with 25-year warranty. So the company backs either one, whichever path you want to go. The X4 is known as the more premier series, with the X2 still being high optical quality, but it doesn't have all the things that an X4 ND filter does. So the X2, the glass that's in it, is made in Japan. It has 4 coatings on either side of the filter to help protect it from, it helps repel dust and dirt and things like that. And it has aluminum threads for where it screws into the lens. The X4 uses a slightly different optical glass that's manufactured in Germany. It has 8 layers of coating on either side of the filter to help repel that water. So it repels a little more, cleans a little easier, in regards to that. And it uses brass threads as opposed to aluminum. And the big difference between aluminum and brass threads is typically people think the brass threads are less likely to get bound up. When you're trying to screw filters together, one of the problems sometimes happens is they get stuck on the lens and they're difficult to remove. Brass threads tend to do that less often than aluminum threads. Optically, both the X2 and X4 both rank very high as far as the optical quality, and that's something I think is important. And when you're shopping for filters, regardless of how you go with, that's where I try not to shortcut, because you get this nice expensive lens, you got this nice expensive camera. Last thing you want to do is put a cheap filter that doesn't have high optical standards that are going to diminish the results in your picture. So Breakthrough Photography, both X2 and X4 are optically very sound and very good choices. The one I'm looking at here today is an X2, so it is the one with aluminum threads. It's got coatings, 4 coatings on each side, still has a 25-year warranty, so it's a little less expensive than the X4 filter. So my X2 is a 6-stop filter, and the reason I chose a 6-stop filter is because the majority of work I do with ND filter is landscape photography. And if you're a landscape photographer and that's the majority of what you're going to do with your cameras and your lenses and your filters, a 6-stop is a great place to be. It works well for waterfalls, works well for seascapes, it can work well at sunrises, sunsets. It's just very versatile and puts you right in that range of where you want to be for the long exposure settings to get those, just to smooth out the water and things as it moves around rocks or it comes off a waterfall or something like that. So a 6-stop is a very solid choice. If you're more of a portrait photographer, you can probably maybe get away with a 3-stop filter depending on what you're trying to do. But for landscape photographers, I say try to get into that 6-stop range. The Breakthrough filters actually have a threaded ring on the outside as well. So if you needed to stack ND filters, you could. I've not had the need to stack filters. This 6-stop has worked just fine for me for waterfalls. So I've been real happy with my Breakthrough Photography ND filter. I predominantly use it for waterfalls. That's most situations I get to use it in. It works great. I think 6 stops is a great amount. Like I said, I only have one ND filter, and 6 stops seems to work for most conditions that I've wanted to do long exposures in. So this is worked out really well for that. Like I said, mine's the X2, so it has the aluminum threads. And really, this binds less than any other filter I've ever used, even though it's the aluminum. And theoretically, brass is even better than this. But this one's been just fine with the aluminum. So that's been super cool. And like I said, Breakthrough Photography is sort of known for their optical quality of their filters. So I have no concerns there. I've not experienced any problems with using this filter on my lenses or anything like that. My one tip for if you're using filters is to, what I do is I take the lens that has the largest filter size. So my wide angle lens is an 82 millimeter filter size, and that's what I buy the filters for. And then something like my telephoto, which has like, I believe a 67 millimeter filter size, I get a step-up ring. And what a step-up ring does is it attaches to the end of the lens, you put it on, then your filter attaches to it, which lets you get from 67 to the 82. So that way you don't have to buy filters for each of your lenses. So like I said, if you know what you commonly use in your landscape photography bag, take a look, find out which lens has the biggest filter size, buy your filters for that size, and then use step-up rings on your other lenses to get to that if you're using the screw-on filters. So if you're looking for ND filters for your camera or anything like that, I highly recommend taking a look at Breakthrough Photography. Like I said, known for their optical quality. I'm very happy with mine. It fits the bill. A 6-stop's a good one to get started with. If you're looking for where do I start with landscape photography, a 6-stop ND filter is great. You know, as far as X2 version versus the X4 version, my X2 version's done just fine. I don't even really feel the need to go to X4. Maybe it's one of those cases where if I had the X4, I would be like, no way would I go back to an X2. But where I'm at right now, I have no desire to go shop around for more ND filters. This one's working just great. So if you found today's video helpful, please hit that like button. And if you want to see future landscape photography content from me in the future, which includes little mini gear reviews like this, behind the scenes looks, tips and tricks, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future landscape photography content from me. And thank you for watching.